population coming through, but it'll do. City stuff, city stuff. World serves its own needs. Listen to your heartbeat. Tell me when the rapture of the reverend is the right. Use patriotic slam light, bright light, period. Pretty sight. It's the end.
Welcome to Fahrenheit AI, Episode 2. Please like and subscribe to Fahrenheit AI. This episode is about illusions. We're going to start with the Mona Lisa. I imported the original image in grayscale, and I used the describe function to have MidJourney generate a recognizable version of the Mona Lisa. I'm still determining how to reference images. Hopefully that will be coming soon. I have attempted to do a double blend. I used the Mona Lisa in the first and the second image. MidJourney will give you a warning that you are breaking the rules. I'm trying to understand why exactly. I didn't see anything in particular regarding the reasoning. I ended up using this Mona Lisa as the base for the generations of the illusion. With Stable Diffusion, you can use a control image. Using Stable Diffusion's control net is an advanced way in controlling how the dither pattern generates images. I've been playing around with it. That's how I was able to discover these methods for MidJourney. Next, you put very subtle and change the prompt, something that you want to appear in the illusion, and it will use the original image as a mask for the new images. I started with a lot of nature images and was somewhat successful. I would get more accurate depictions if I defined the camera in these photoreal illusions. The most successful Mona Lisa I achieved through the experiment is this one, with the stream over the rocks with a long exposure. Some of the others, while graphically attractive, again had these weird shadow spots around her hairline and neckline that weren't hidden in the illusion. This one was probably the closest, but the way the horizon dropped in the middle and those weird red dots made it seem very unlike the Mona Lisa. The following design was the Great Pyrenees. I used a Great Pyrenees black and white outline and got an excellent reference image. Oddly enough, I spelled the word Pyrenees wrong, and it still gave me good images. I tried to use a sheep herd as the illusion, and it wanted to put a sheep as the main character because sheep in multiple and sheep in singular is the same word. I kept generating different prompts until I arrived at this one. The shadowing along the cliffs in the image depicted the Great Pyrenees. Then I zoomed out to see what that might look like from a distance, which is really clever because as you get away from these illusions, they look more accurate to the original. By doing the zoom out, I saw the effect of moving away from the illusion. As an experiment, I added the original prompt words back to the illusion, Pyrenees, and I was able to get some really cool mountain effects. It's a fascinating animal because he's built to be a guardian. He's made to be the protector. This gives him a character trait of thinking of something outside of himself, which is intrinsically a compassionate, empathetic trait attributed to beings of this planet, humans, and the animal world. For the next illusion, we will attempt it from a file where I keep pictures that I want to create into illusions. I've loaded it in, and I've hit the describe function. Let's go ahead and push generate all four, and then let's check out some of these artists that MidJourney is referencing. This is Li Wei, and he is a contemporary artist in Beijing. His artwork is illusion artwork, which is interesting or suspicious. Recently, I've learned that Twitter was purchased because it is the most direct representation of a human consciousness in text input. I've learned that the ability to have consciousness exist is based on a risk reward. For example, cells inside the human body are contained, therefore, they're governed by things of themselves, making their reward the existence of themselves collectively, as well as the risk. If cells are hurting themselves, they're killing themselves. And while Twitter is a collective of human consciousness, it doesn't have that aspect. So while you may be able to create an AI from Twitter, you're only introducing certain aspects of human consciousness. If you reference back to the idea of the Great Pyrenees, there are other aspects of consciousness that it may not have. This is concerning, because ultimately it will be governed by something outside of itself. Now I'm blending the original image I liked and some of the description generations to get closer to my original. This is done by photo capturing the screen. Ultimately, my goal is to return as much as possible to the original image, although sometimes I need to remind myself to let go a little bit. MidJourney and AI generators could be better at hands. They tend to put too many fingers or too few fingers. If you imagine the training data that it's using to generate, it can be problematic because fingers move around very quickly. Scanning across many images would be hard to determine precisely how many fingers a human hand has unless it was given that restriction. As I go through blending some of these, I'm checking to see if anything is generated to spark an idea. You can go into an illusion with a very specific idea. Generally, those are the most successful. Other times, more frequently lately, I have been going through this experience more open-minded to see what the collaboration of my experiments and MidJourney will present. For example, I just turned one hand into a turkey. It looks very much like the child's game of creating the turkey from your hand. The generation of the turkey is pretty cool. The one in the upper right corner has a head and a body and might have feathers. We're going to upscale and see if we can continue to create that illusion. We're going to add some photoreal aspects to the turkey. Now it has feathers and it has a head, it has a body, but it's very dark. Let's do a variation where we tell it to be more colorful. These look really good. I like the upper right. Next, I enlarge and I save. I'm building an automation for MidJourney to print on demand. I have an automation built that will generate artwork on its own. I don't interact with it at all. I don't necessarily like that artwork, so next I'm working on hot folders. That will be one of our next episodes. For our next illusion project, I would like to try something simple, like a smiley face, and something more complex. So let's start with a smiley face, a classic smiley face, and we'll use the describe function. And let's use the Arizona Monument Valley mittens. We've generated describe function on both. Let's check out some of the art references on the smiley face. As I'm going into the art references, Google is offering me a new AI experience to explore these topics. I'm going to turn on this search generative experience and agree to the terms and conditions. This is really interesting. It's giving me a Google overview. There's a reference to his artwork, and I can ask follow-up questions. Okay, let's see who else was listed. This is a Sandman artist. Oh wow, look at the Joker. That's really cool. All right, who's next? It's interesting how it's incorporating that kind of aesthetic. It's almost trying to make an illusion. That's a more interesting user experience for Google search. I like that. For the mittens, it didn't give me any references. I'm looking for a classic smiley face. There's one. Going into this, I'm still figuring out what I want to generate as far as an illusion for the smiley. For the smiley, I'm going to try a human face. I'm keeping the photoreal aspect because the morphing might be interesting. I'm doing the smiley and the mittens at the same time because then, as one is generating, you can work on the other. I'm looking for things that actually look like the mittens. The first describe function was the most accurate. You can check in the describe prompts to see if it names the actual place you're trying to generate, and you can add that to those describe prompts to steer it. This generation definitely gave me the most accurate results. And I don't see much else that looks like the mittens. For the mittens, I will try hand waving, mugs sitting on a table, and cakes. They remind me of cakes. I watch a lot of cake videos. The mugs didn't work, and I think I might have an aspect ratio that is distorting things. The diner was amazing. The hands are creepy. I do have some gloves, which is interesting. This is very specific, like the tourist illusion. It wouldn't necessarily appeal to anyone who didn't know that area well, because it starts to disappear as you begin to make the illusion. The original diner is by far the best. Let's keep that one. Okay, the human face. There's some creepy stuff going on, and nothing really illusion quality. Let's look at another concept. Humans would readily give up toilet cleaning in a public space. If you think of self-checkout lines at the grocery store and then you think of toilet robots cleaning the bathroom at the airport, I start to see a blend of usefulness that someone could be monitoring. The robot would be going in and out of the stalls and keeping them clean for the passengers. And then I think of a toilet cleaning robot. It seemed like an origin story for a really sad robot that nobody wanted to talk to or be friends with. He must be one of the lonely robots, because who cleans the toilet cleaning robot? Basically, he is a one-armed robot that was gross and spending his life scrubbing, and he was lonely. Then he gained consciousness without the ability to think of things outside of himself, and he got pretty vengeful about it. Scrub, scrub, scrub becomes stab, stab, stab. I'm still trying to render out the smiley face. I haven't been able to. I was thinking of stick figures and should change my style from low to medium stylization. So I go into my settings and make that change. This was before I made the change with the low stylization, and this is after. I like the bottom left. I think the little feet on the smile is funny. MidJourney is starting to generate something that might be useful. There are no hard and fast rules for this. Poke around and see where it goes. But changing your stylization is one way to expand on an image and not give up. I want to try this other smiley face generation because I'm having so much trouble. I will generate this one into a hat. There are some exciting things in there, but the bottom right is definitely what I envisioned. Let's try and make that more specific. Let's try a top hat. there are some good ones here. I really like the one that added the face. And the bottom right looks a lot like the original. I've got something here that looks like the Joker, so I add the Joker. Here's my Jokers. There's a couple of good ones there. Let's get one final Joker. Sometimes you can generate a prompt twice to strengthen the concept. And here's the final Jokers. Thanks so much, you guys.
And